Just talking musicals with you. Hello, I'm Lesley Ann Knight and welcome to Just Talking Musicals and the second part of our special interview with Tom Klenerman, one of the first young actors ever to play the role of Charlie Bucket in the West End production of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory back in 2013. So, are you sitting comfortably? Welcome to part 2. Now I'm going to go back on that. Did you say the word? 2 words. Sam Mendes, the director of James Bond, and he'd been just directing Skyfall.
Yeah, he does come off Skyfall.
And he came from Skyfall to direct you in Charlie and who was it? It was Jack Costello, Isaac Bruce, and Louis. You were the 4 Charlies.
We were the 4 Charlies.
Had you any idea who this man was? Who was the director?
I remember walking out of the Coliseum and I remember walking in there and just seeing this guy with a beard in like the back of the group of people who were assessing us and not really knowing who he was. And then I remember walking out and my mum was like, "Was Sam Mendes in there?" And I was like, I don't know. And her making a big fuss about it and me not really being sure what was going on.
But you know all about him now. And what was he like to work with?
He was awesome to work with. He was properly switched on, properly
so he guided you.
Yeah, he guided me. I think he nurtured me quite a lot because I hadn't done much drama and things, and they selected me based on my personality being like that of Charlie rather than having specific skill.
Yeah.
And they then taught me the skill.
Yeah.
And then he made a lot to kind of look after me. For example, I was going to do the big press night performance, but then because I hadn't done any acting before, they then made the decision on the day that they'd make Jack do it rather than me.
And that's Jack Costello.
Yeah, Jack Costello.
Had he done stuff in the West End
Jack
before?
had done quite a bit. I think he'd been in Les Miserables. So,
wow.
Again, there were lots of people like Jack really helped me learn how to like perform on a stage and took care of me. And so did Douglas Hodge, who played Willy Wonka. Really taught me how to like look when you're on stage and how to like walk around and how to perform.
And do you think about it? So that you were amongst people who'd worked in the West End, who'd worked in theatre. The boys were your age. You were all about the same age, weren't you?
Yes.
But had they been to theatre schools?
They had. Isaac had done, I think, ballet before, and Louis had done a fair bit of acting and has done a fair bit
since. And then
since.
there's you.
Yeah, I was a total novice.
But talented. And really talented. So I'm not just saying that I know that because I know you. And so it's great to know that it's also possible for anybody, even if you haven't been to stage school, to actually walk into an audition and get there on your own merit because you've got a talent. And that's and that is inspirational. I think that's wonderful. So one of the things I love about you is half the time you don't realise what you've achieved. And I think it's fantastic now that you can sit here and say potentially to other people, I did this and I hadn't been to stage school. I always liked acting and I was interested in this. And you won in a million chance and it worked because once you start working, you really work. You're a hard worker, aren't you?
Yeah, I think it's true. If you like drama, you don't have to think that these other people have an advantage because they have parents in the industry or have been indoctrinated into it from a young age. You can come at it from any age.
Yeah.
And I think if you're willing to put in the hard work, then you can definitely get somewhere.
And you just went from one experience with it to another thing. And you must have been like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, like, wow, what is all this?
Well, yeah, I mean, I went from, tree 10 in the school play to then being in this big production and it being very exciting.
Yeah.
I don't think I really knew a lot what was going on. I was just getting through each day.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And who taught? Did you have to learn the songs on your own or was there somebody to teach you?
I learned 2 of the songs when I was auditioning.
Yeah.
And then the other songs which were more collective. So I learned my 2 solo songs while I was auditioning.
So that was almost nearly perfect.
Almost nearly perfect and A Letter from Charlie Bucket.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Those 2 great songs, aren't they?
Yeah.
And did you rehearse because the Theatre Royal Drury Lane is a huge theatre, isn't it? And
it's
a very busy theatre as well. But where did you rehearse? Did you rehearse in London? Did you rehearse in the theatre?
We rehearsed in London around a few venues for about 6 months beforehand. and then we moved to the theatre for another month. No, more than a month. We were doing about, like, we did an act. Yeah, we were about a month. And then...
So you got used to being on
So
stage.
we got used to being on stage, and they could kind of plot where everything was going to be, work out lighting, work out whether what we'd done in rehearsals really worked on the stage. And so we spent about a month doing that, and then we went into previews. Previews lasted about a month, and then we went to the real thing.
So what... Okay, fast forward. Your opening night.
Yeah.
So what was it like being backstage before curtain up? What was it like? Did you have any routines? Did you have any superstitious things that you had to do?
I remember, I don't think I did at that stage. I developed a few throughout the nights, being like, well, this went really well on when I did this night, I'll have to do it again. But I think just the first night, I remember waking up utterly terrified in the morning, and then terrified and excited. I think there was a mix of proper fear in there. But
how many people does that theatre seat? Can you remember?
2,200, something like that. Huge. Feels like a lot more when you're looking out.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I remember feeling really, really nervous and spending most of the day just sort of meditating. I don't know, just getting myself prepared.
And I expect the production team and everybody involved in the production are looking after you.
Well, I was a little bit of a risk because I hadn't done anything in front of anyone before. Yeah. So it was the first night during the previews. I think everyone was a little unsure what I was going to do because obviously I'd never even stood on a West End stage. I'd never stood on really any professional stage. Yeah. But I remember the curtain going up, and then I can't remember anything else. And I remember coming out.
Rubbish heap, weren't you?
I was on the rubbish heap. Yeah. So I remember you start on stage alone, and the stage clears about 15 minutes before the show starts, and so it's just me on there for 15 minutes, utterly terrified. And then I remember the curtain going up, and I go straight into my song, and then I don't remember anything else about the first night. I just remember it going up and you get this wall of white light and shadows, and just going into my song, just doing what we prepared and really trained for. And then...
I was going to say, did you know anyone in the audience?
Well, I knew my parents were in the audience, and it was as a lovely coincidence, it was my grandma's 80th birthday on the same day. Yeah. And she loved musical theatre, so it was kind of incredible that the two dates coincided. But yeah, it was amazing. Experience. I just remember the last thing I do is I walk through a door off stage, and I just remember feeling such just the most incredible feeling of joy that I'd completed, that I'd managed to make it through. Yeah. And then walking back on stage with the curtain call is just the best feeling on the planet.
You know you've done it.
And I wore a really cool, or I thought it was really cool at the time. Looking back on it, it was very uncool, but like a purple jacket, a bit like Willy Wonka, yeah. And I liked wearing it, and I had a cane. It was very cool.
Wonderful.
And just when you walk out and you see people clapping and you know you've done a good job, there is no better feeling than that. It's the best. Yeah. And yeah, I think it's just an incredible experience.
So you went from 0 to first night at Drury Lane, in front of 2,000 odd people, and that is the most amazing experience. You'll never ever forget that, will you? It's just there. It's imprinted on your mind, surely. Yeah,
I'll never forget the image when the curtain goes up and seeing all the lights. I'll never forget that feeling of walking on stage alone at the end and everybody clapping around you. I'll never forget just how much joy I got from it.
And there's one person who Charlie is with on stage quite a bit. Somebody you really respect, isn't there?
Yeah, see, through the first act I spend a lot of time with Grandpa Joe, and then in the second act I spend most of my time with Willy Wonka. And
who was played by
Doug Hodge, who really took me under my wing. I felt under his wing. I felt, and really kind of nurtured me. Because of course, like I say, I was a bit of a risk, a bit of a wild card, which is why they spent time training me up. Because like I had a very innocent personality, which made me like Charlie. But at the same time, you know, you're putting a kid in front of 2,200 people who's never been on a stage before and never done any acting, never even sung in front of people. And so Doug Hodge really properly trained me, because we spent a lot of time on stage, just how to walk on stage, how to talk on stage, how to project. He kind of taught me everything.
And made you feel strong, probably. You knew he was there.
He gave me a lot of support. It was the last person I'd see before the 15 minutes isolation. And so, you know, and it would always give me a bit of support knowing he was on stage, knowing that I was kind of safe.
Yeah. Did you have a favourite song?
Well, that's interesting. I liked the Oompa Loompa songs. I mean, I wasn't singing them, but that was quite nice because I could relax and enjoy it.
And could you watch that from backstage then?
Well, I was still on stage, but I was usually just in a corner out of the way.
Yeah.
And it was quite fun to watch.
Because I read there was 60 Oompa Loompas in total that they had. But they had different people operating different bits, so there were people doing arms and different people doing legs.
So one set of person would be the head and the legs, and then somebody else would be the arms.
Yeah.
It was very clever.
And it was a huge technical production, wasn't it? Because you've got the chocolate lake.
The set was incredible. I remember the first time I saw it, it was just amazing. And you just, so much colour. It was incredible.
But there were lots of technical gadgets there, like the elevator.
Yeah, the elevator was amazing.
Did that work from day one?
No, from day one it did not work. It failed. Through previews, it shut down quite a lot.
Oh no!
And then we did it somewhere where the stage just rose and then went back down. But that didn't look very good.
No.
And then we got the elevator to work finally, and it was really awesome. And I think it gave the real magic to the end of the show.
So describe, for somebody that hasn't seen it, what was the elevator? What was it like? It's a lift, isn't it?
It's a glass. Like, it's made of glass. It looks a bit like a phone booth. No, it looks more like a glass...
TARDIS.
Yeah, a glass TARDIS. And then you step inside, and it then goes up, and then it went out over the front of the stools, and then came back around, and then settled.
So you just felt like you're flying.
Yeah. It was quite scary, because I'd known it had broken loads of times when I got in there the first time, and I didn't really want it to fall apart.
So you and Douglas were in there going, okay.
Yeah, every time, the first few times was a bit, we were like, ooh, what's going to happen? Bit on edge, but
you would be, and of course you can't give the game away, can you?
Yeah.
You can't be in there like this.
No.
Right, that's it for today. As always, thank you to the wonderful Katie Ridout, without whom none of this would happen. None of it. Hello. Join us again next time for the third and final segment of my chat with Tom, as he shares his generous insights into being a child star in the West End, and his thoughts for other young hopefuls with their eye on that lead spotlight. You can find Just Talking Musicals on Facebook, and we're lurking on Twitter as well, under the name of At Night and Ridout. Oh, and don't forget to click the subscribe button for each new episode alert, so you can bag the best front row seats for each new show. See you here again very soon for part 3 of our Just Talking Musicals special with Tom Klenerman. Just Talking Musicals with you. Ah, so nice.
Basil's is very naughty.
Oh, me?
Yes.
Naughty?
Yes. She says some awful things.
I know, I love it. Do you like my new shoes?
I do like... Oh, they're very nice.